These days there's a lot of different kinds of family structures and family arrangements that we maybe didn't see before, because we have a lot of children moving back home in their 20s and 30s because they can't find jobs. Job market's pretty tough out there. We also have a lot of what we're dubbing the sandwich generation, which are taxpayers who find themselves in the position of not only taking care of their children, but also taking care of their parents. And the tax breaks for these are kind of tricky to figure out. But the general rule is, for dependents, meaning people that you think of are actually children that you're still supporting, which tends to be 19 and younger for kids who are not in college and 24 and younger for kids that are in college, that's a pretty easy determination. If they meet those age criteria and they live with you for most of the time, taking into consideration that if they have occasional absences, meaning school or the military, but they're intending to return home, then they're going to qualify as a dependent. You get to take claim them on your tax return, so long as they're not claiming themselves. You want to make sure that you get that straight, because a lot of times when kids go away to college, that's not always real clear as to who's going to claim who. If you're the parent and you're claiming that child, make sure that child understands they can't also file a return and claim themselves. When it gets more tricky is what happens when you're over those limits. So let's say you have a kid that moves back into the house at the age of 30. Are they a qualifying child for purposes of being a dependent? No, they're actually not a qualifying child. They get to switch that term, and now they're a qualifying relative. The key to whether or not someone can be considered a qualifying relative tends to rely on how much support is provided. And the key is that they cannot provide more than half of their own support. This is a little difficult because does that mean that you have to pay more than half of their support? Actually, it doesn't. It means that they can't be providing more than half of their own support. So it's a little bit of semantics, but you need to make sure you read the rules pretty carefully. But that said, if there's someone at home who you are supporting and they otherwise qualify as a qualifying relative, you can absolutely claim them as a dependent on your taxes. Again, you need to make sure that they're not claiming themselves, because then that kind of makes the whole thing moot, because two people can't be independent at the same time. So you can't claim a dependent and then have them say that they're independent for purposes of filing their own taxes.